Pinball manufacturing returns to Illinois. Stern launch
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Internet-connected gaming now a thing.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Joosten. I'm the editor of Pinball magazine, and I'm here joined with
Martin Ebb, and I'm editor of Pinball News, and we're here to look back at the marvellous month of May 2020, which turned out to be rather busy when we thought initially it might be quite quiet with all the coronavirus lockdowns going on.
Yeah, but there's a lot of news to report, and we even have a new game being launched, which I suppose it was supposed to launch 2 months ago already, but it was announced just a couple of days ago. But we'll get back to that in just a bit. First, let's look at the implication of the coronavirus.
Yes, well, pinball manufacturing in particular in Illinois was all shut down when the sort of stay-at-home orders were issued. But from Friday the 29th of May, so we're recording this on the 1st of June, so just a couple of days ago, the manufacturing was allowed to restart with, that's as phase 3 of a 5-step recovery plan they're implementing in Illinois, which allows factories, plants and mills to resume operations with either 6 feet of distance or impermeable barriers between employee workstations, it says in the details, and ramped up cleaning and disinfecting between shifts, which is enough to allow basically all the pinball manufacturers who reside in Illinois to get back to making games. That's the manufacturing part. Stateside stores will have to limit the number of customers in the store at any one time. We're looking more towards what's going to happen with arcades and locations that might have pinball on location, barcades, that kind of place. Retailers have half the usual capacity, or 5 customers per 1,000 square feet of retail space. Now, whether a store would count as would include arcades in that is not clear, but I don't think people are actually expecting arcades or barcades to open yet and become available. Chicago itself, within Illinois, doesn't follow any of these rules until Wednesday, so in a couple of days' time. Then non-essential retailers will be limited to 25% of normal capacity, I should say.
Ouch.
So that's not very many, really, is it? And might make it borderline as whether they're actually able to make money by opening. For the moment, bars and restaurants are only allowed to do outdoors service. They hope to reopen when phase 4 is implemented, which is scheduled to begin on June the 26th. So, in just over 3.5 weeks' time, maybe they'll be able to open up properly. Even then, it'll be reduced capacity and social distancing, and whether amusement coin-op machines will be part of that mix. Whether anybody's going to be able to look after the sanitising aspect of that.
Right.
And
well, these games will get cleaned now. I mean, at least on the outside, I suppose.
Well, maybe, but it's going to have to be single-player games, and the games are going to have to be spaced 6 feet apart. So it doesn't, it may not work, or at least might have to take some of the games out or reposition them. Right. But you won't be able to have your friends around and play a 4-player game if they're all standing around the machine, or at least not the same machine. That's for sure. So that's the sort of coronavirus update from the US. As far as you're concerned, Jonathan, has anything changed much in coronavirus rules and what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do in the Netherlands, or in your part of it, at least?
Well, effectively, today, June 1st, the terraces for bars have been allowed to open again, with, as long as there is a 6 feet distance between people sitting on the terrace, which in some cases means that certain bars that are on a square have enlarged their terrace so that they can still have the same number of people attending, but they just need a bigger terrace, and obviously not everybody can do that. But starting today, bars and restaurants are allowed to reopen again, and oddly enough, as soon as that was announced, lots and lots of people started making reservations, which is required, just to make sure that they don't have too many people coming in. While I certainly do enjoy a drink or a meal in a restaurant or a bar, I personally didn't feel the need to rush out and immediately go sit in the sun and But okay, other people have different needs, I suppose. But that's a good thing, I suppose. And obviously, everything is still being watched carefully, in the sense that if it turns out that the second wave of the virus is, if the number of people that need hospitalization goes up, then measures will be reduced, in the sense that bars will be closed again, and so on. Also with gyms and that kind of stuff, they already were doing lots of workouts in the open air. Apparently, in the open air is less. You're less vulnerable for the virus. It's being reasoned over here. So, lots of people businesses took an opportunity at that by doing stuff in the open air instead of within an office space or a closed gym space.
That's great, as long as the weather's good. Yes.
Well, so far it is, but it's Netherlands. So
with all that, is there any further thoughts about the prospects for the Dutch Pinball Open Expo later in the year, and how that might work?
Actually, I just had a meeting about that last Friday, to be more precise. Okay. And the thing is, nobody can look into the future, and we also have no idea what rules are still applicable at that time. And one of the things that I think we decided on, if the 6 feet rule is still in place, then we can't do the Dutch Pinball Open.
Right.
Because it's very difficult to. I don't think we can bring in enough machines, or the number of games would be extremely limited, which would make it an event that for people is not that interesting to attend to in the first place. So it would just devaluate the show for what people know it for. So that makes no sense.
Sure.
But but we're not cancelling yet. We're just hoping that that we can go on under the normal circumstances, and then we still have to see how many people are still interested in coming, because it might as well be that people are like, well, I'll pass for now and I'll just wait it out and maybe next year.
Yeah, I've seen some places they seem to not do a 2 meter rule or even a 1.5 meter rule. They seem to have a 1 meter rule now. I wonder whether that might make things, if that was introduced in the Netherlands, whether that would make it more viable or more achievable to hold that kind of show.
Yeah. One of the things that actually crossed my mind today was whether it would be interesting if you have a lineup of pinball machines where you could place them in a sort of like zipper method, in the sense that you have, if you're in front of a pinball machine, the next pinball machine next to it would be reversed, so you have the back of the pinball machine next to your lock bar, basically. So whether that would could work to create some distancing on the side and the person in front of you on the other machines. So just a random thought.
A bit more space.
Yeah. So oh well. But no, okay. The event is still seriously considered, but there's so many factors involved that we can't make a decision right now. We just have to wait and see. We did pick a date, which I'm not going to announce, but we did pick a date where we're going to decide based on what is at that time expected to happen or will be allowed. And because obviously you need time to organize such an event, and at some point, if it's too short notice, then we're just going to say we're going to pass.
So that'll be your go or no go decision.
Yes.
With it, right? Okay. Over here things have been easing very slightly, not massively. Some of the shops and stores have been able to, and some of the non-essential ones have been able to open. But like you, actually, it seems to have exactly the same kind of situation with gyms and places like that. They can work outside, but inside, I think that in gyms here, they're only going to be able to, and I don't think this has happened yet, but I think it happens fairly soon, maybe in 2 weeks' time. They're only going to be able to do sort of one individual training sessions, so kind of one-on-one type training, as long as people can keep their distance during that. And so people are working out with a trainer, and that's it. There's no sort of general access coming up, so that's not great. Bars might be able to open the middle of next month, so I think that's about the 14th of July. They're looking at reopening some bars, but again, it's probably going to be outside only. In the meantime, they've been able to do takeaway service, but I don't think that's been massively popular. Because,
over here, that's completely different. I mean, Sunday evening, 8 p.m. If you're out on the street, if you start counting the delivery people on bicycles going across town delivering food, you lose count. Seriously, it's ridiculous, and most of them are wearing a special uniform. Well, it's not a uniform, but typical clothing for these companies that are delivering food. It's really, based on the number of delivery people on the street, I'd say it's very popular.
Oh, okay. I would say food delivery has I think remained popular over here. It was popular before, but and has grown significantly. But I don't think any those places that try to do drink sales, I don't think that's worked for bars, because
you could go to a supermarket as well.
Exactly. There's no reason to do it. Unless a particular bar is offering something you can't buy in the supermarket, a specialist craft beer or something like that.
Well, over here, I do have to say there's the bars that serve Italian coffee and that kind of thing. They did takeaway service, and that has been actually quite popular. So lots of people still prefer to just go there, take out 4 cappuccinos and 2 lattes or whatever, and they did very, very well. I was actually surprised to see that. So, but there's no point in getting a beer, I suppose.
No, I was surprised to see that some of the coffee places around my work were open about 2 weeks ago, where they've been closed up to that point. But also, I forget what I was going to say now. Yes, they've opened garden centres and a few other places now, so people can go and do the work on the garden at home. But generally speaking, it's still quite closed down, but it's gradually opening up. And like you say, if there's any kind of indication there's a return or a second wave or spike in cases, then all this could be closed down. We're in a slightly strange position, probably more akin to the US here, because the United Kingdom consists of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and each of those 4 nations are all making their own decisions on these things. So you might be able to, drive somewhere to go and exercise in England, say, but if you drove into Wales to exercise, that would be illegal. Because Wales
if you're going there to exercise, you might as well go on a bike and already get your exercise along the way. But
yeah, but don't cross the border though. That's the thing, because you're not allowed to do that in Wales, or you weren't allowed to do it in Wales. It may have changed from today, because they all have different timings as to when certain things are allowed and not allowed. But anyway, we don't want to spend too long looking at the coronavirus news, because the important thing is, as far as pinball goes, that pinball manufacturing is back up and running in Illinois,
right,
whereas previously it wasn't. So, and most of the major manufacturers are now in Illinois. That means that the pinball is being manufactured again, and although it may not be places to site the games on location yet, it's certainly available for home sales.
Yes, and sort of leading into our second headline, Stern did launch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but...
Now you have to sing it. You have to sing it again. Every time you say it...
No, I already sang it at the intro, so that was it. Sorry. But allow me to notice right away that Stern is allowing themselves 2 weeks to ramp up production before the games become available. So unlike previous models like Stranger Things that was immediately available when the game was announced, in this case there's still a 2 week period in which the games need to be manufactured and distributed amongst distributors and so on.
Yeah, it's quite surprising, considering the game was due to be launched in the beginning of April at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and we assumed at that point there would be a whole bunch of games both available to buy and to play at the show. But maybe they just never got that far into actually building the game, or maybe there have been some changes in the intervening months.
Well, we definitely can see that the behind the scenes, the design team continued to move forward, which I suppose is resulting in much more updated code upon reveal than I'd say would have been ready 2 months ago. And also all promotional materials were immediately available, where usually it takes a couple of weeks for Stern to reveal flyers and that kind of material. Now everything was available immediately.
Yes, in fact, even the manual, game manual for the Pro model is available online if you go to the Stern website, along with the flyers and promotional videos. And Stern put out I would say it was an email from Gary Stern. Well, I think it was actually from Zach Sharp, but in Gary Stern's name, which was a different style. They've launched a new method of promoting the game to...
Right. Well actually, I'd say I received 2 different emailings. One, the typical traditional mailing, I suppose. Actually,
a press release.
A press release. There was a traditional press release on Facebook, and that type of stuff with the single Gary Stern quote and so on. But like you said, there was also this emailing in name of Gary Stern, who quite disturbingly mentioned that he had to beat his daughter. I suppose playing the game of Turtles, but still it was a rather disturbing sentence to close off that email. But I assume his daughter is safe. So, and by now she's old enough to probably hand his ass to him if he wanted to beat her up. So nothing to worry about, I suppose.
No, I don't think we need to dwell on that one too much. But
no.
But yeah, well, it's worth pointing out that I actually received absolutely nothing at all from Stern Pinball about this. Yeah, apparently as part of their move to the new system, I wasn't included on their mailing list, or wasn't transferred over from the previous mailing list. So anyway, I did get all the material, and
actually you got more than I did, because I think you got the translate images as well.
Yes, they were. They were put on Facebook by Zombie Yeti. They're actually the original artwork before. They're not translates as such because they haven't got the Stern logo or any of the copyright information or Nickelodeon stuff on there, so they are clean, which is nice. So you can see all three versions in the Pinball News article.
Yes, I was leaning into that because obviously new Stern game means that Martin did a very in-depth review of the game, or well, I'm not sure whether it's a review, but at least a tour de play field. I think a tour de play field with all the features, with images, and explained what, how, and what, and where, and why, and so on. So, and it's kind of odd that we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all these side news type of things. But yes, there is a new game. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah, well, okay, so it comes in the usual three models: Pro, Premium, LE limited to 500. It's John Borg design, as I mentioned just now. Zombie Yeti, Jeremy Packer on art.
Right.
Dwight Sullivan is the lead coder for it, and Jerry Thompson doing the sound and the music for it.
Except
although
for
I think it includes, as you were saying, it includes the original theme music from the 80s, is it?
No, actually, I think it's a re-recorded version of the 80s theme song, but it's done very, very well, I have to say that. But that one isn't done by Jerry Thompson. All the other music, which is also, I found very 80s influence, which I think actually fits very well with the game. So compliments to Jerry Thompson for that. And it's also interesting to note that they didn't use any video from the original animated series.
No, absolutely.
So, similar to Jurassic Park, no footage was available, and they just went on the LCD with their own images and artwork, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that maybe the quality wasn't good enough for today's use, but
it's not such a big screen.
No, exactly, and no, they seemed to get by okay with Beatles, didn't they? When that was even older. Right. So I'm sure they could have used it if it was available, but maybe it was a licensing issue, and they decided not to go that route anyway.
It probably cost more, and they didn't want.
Yeah, and also, of course, it limits them as to what they can do with the storyline of the game, in that they've got to then use what video assets they have available.
Yeah, although I have to say, what I understood in terms of the modes, I think they looked very closely, at least to season 1 of the original animated series, because I think several of the modes are named after episodes from that season. Which is interesting because personally I am familiar with the Turtles, but I had completely forgotten about Krang and the two dumb what do you call them, bouncers or whatever you want to call them, that help Shredder out.
Okay, because I have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right, it wasn't one of my wasn't on my radar, shall I say. And so I didn't know about it when it first came out as a Data East game, and don't know any more about it now.
Well, blessed are the ignorant, right?
Well, it's we can look at it from two different ways. You know, you who do know who the characters are. Right. Well, I know who the Turtles are. I know April, but other than that, I don't know who any of the others are. And I've never watched or seen any of the animated cartoons or movies. Right. So none of that is familiar. So series names don't mean anything to me. So, but to me, I'm coming at it as a total newbie, and the game has to sell itself to me on that basis. Whereas for you look at it, and there are bits of it which are familiar.
Well,
and
bits,
you already know certain storylines, certain characters, and and what.
Well, that was only because I actually went on YouTube. I went on YouTube to actually check one of the older episodes of season 1, just to get to refresh my memory, basically. And I was like, really? Was it that? It wasn't like I remembered it. Let's put it like that. So, and I, for a brief moment of time, I also had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine from Data East in my collection, which I actually quite enjoyed. I bought it because I used to play it on location a lot at around 91, 92. One of the things I found, I wouldn't say disappointing, but I was sort of expecting a sewer shot. Since the turtles are always hiding in the sewers, this game has no sewer shot. And if you look at the 1991 game, the sewer shot on that game is after you completed a number of combos on the two ramps, the sewer lights for 10 million, which is completely unbalanced with everything else scoring in the game. So on that one sewer shot, I won many games, so for me, in my recollection, Turtles game needs to have a sewer shot.
Well, if it's any comparison, I do remember, now you mentioned it, and I've forgotten all about it until that point, that at some point I did go to a house in North London to look at buying a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pinball machine from somebody in private collection. Well, collection, it was the only machine they had in the house, and I think he wanted to get rid of it, and I decided not to buy it.
Right.
Not based on anything particularly wrong with it. I looked at it and played it and decided that I didn't like it. So I chose not to buy it, even though it was a very good price.
Right.
But it wasn't for me.
Oh, well. That's okay, I guess. It's not I wouldn't say it's a classic. It's not I wouldn't say it's Monster Bash level or Medieval Madness. No. So it was nice for the time, but
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, this was a few years after that, so there were much better games out there, in my opinion. At that time,
absolutely.
Yeah, spend my money on.
Yeah. Yep. So, but that being said, I think the new game looks rather interesting. At least they with the turtle van, they I think they got creative with mechanical engineering in order to have that lock balls on the premium and the LE. So I think that's interesting. There's the glider mechanism on the premium and LE there, where you can change the direction of the ball depending on which in lane the ball will end. That's basically what you can decide on, which is interesting. Obviously, we have seen
it's a ramp shot, isn't it?
Yeah,
the ramp returns. You can swap it over to the opposite ramp return if you want, or stop the ball completely. I think as well. Although maybe that's just the game has that control. Because when you start a mode or an episode, it can stop the ball on the ramp in the same way as the Pro can as well.
Right. So we've seen the spinning disc, the magnetic spinning disc holding the balls. A slight innovation there that the disc is now spinning in two directions. So they used a DC motor. I think that's what I caught on the Jack Danger live stream.
Yeah, it's. If you actually look at the flyers, it's interesting because the flyers for the Premium Pro say that all three models have a spinning disc capable of spinning in both directions, but the Pro only does spin in one direction. So I'm sure it's the same mechanism and the same motor in both, in the Pro and the Premium and LE, but I guess they just decided not to drive it backwards or in the opposite direction on the Pro as a more sort of marketing feature rather than any technical issue. But it's a unidirectional spin on the Pro and a bidirectional spin on the other two.
It makes me wonder whether it would make sense to download limited edition game software or premium software and put that on your Pro machine, whether that would change things.
It would probably change things as far as the bits that don't exist in the Pro, like the truck ball lock release and the glider mechanism. He's trying to drive those. Yeah. It wouldn't work. But I actually think that they have some kind of keying in the game to indicate whether or not they're Pro, Premium, or LE, and they only let you download the appropriate software to them, or at least you'd like to think so.
Right. Okay. So compliments to Zombie Yeti on the artwork. I have to say it's a style that I wasn't expecting from him, but I think he pulled it off. Very colorful, saturated artwork, I'd say.
Yeah, and 3 very different art packages as well, I'd say as well. It's not like they're different colours of the same one or just slight tweaks. They are all, they're all unique. There's not much in common across them. I'm not familiar enough with the theme to know exactly what each one is illustrating or depicting. Maybe I should say, because
turtles.
Yeah, well, they all seem to do that, but each one is a different layout and has different other elements in them. I'd say, as my first look, and without having played it yet, it was kind of a bit disappointing that there weren't more toys on the playfield. Well, there is money spent in the game, but it seems to be mostly spent in ball lock mechanisms that you don't really see. So it's got as you say, it's got the truck, the party truck, ball lock mechanism for the Pro, for the Premium and LE, and it's just a single ball lock in the Pro, and the pizza parlor as well. That's a ball lock mechanism at the back of the game, but it's all hidden. You don't really see any of it. So what you do see, spinning disc, as you say, we've seen that before many times, with a magnet in it, and on the Pro there's a ball stop on the ramp, on both ramps, returns,
right,
and that's we've seen outposts on ramps before stopping balls, and this is just one solenoid that actually stops the ball on 2 ramps at the same time, so it actually saves a solenoid, so that's quite advantageous in the bill of materials,
right.
But other than that, I don't think there's a lot. There's a third flipper, which is nice, and obviously provides a lot of opportunities for side shots and the ramp shot and the inner orbit as well, and the side targets. So nice to see. But it just seemed a bit of cheapening there, but especially when you look at those side targets. The lair and the April one. And just April. One big target.
Well, Stern did that on a couple of games recently, and I think it's just dumping down the capability of the player, thinking that they are not able to spell all letters if they're not one target, one giant target.
To hit the accurate, an accurate shot to hit the appropriate. I mean, even then they used to. You didn't have to hit the exact target. You could hit that one or the one on either side to get the letter if it was set to easy.
Right.
And it got harder during the game. But yeah, I just think it, as you say, it dumbs down the play, but it also looks cheap as well. It's
it doesn't have to be a drop target mechanism, but just regular stand-ups. That would have been fine. But obviously, this is cheaper to manufacture, I suppose. Less labor involved as well, because all those targets are, as far as I understood, still made by hand. So this would make it,
and all individual targets as well. As far as the control system goes, that's 4 switches, whereas now it's 1.
Right, so I can, from a cost perspective point of view, I can understand why they would go with it, but still, I get the impression that you're not taking the player seriously. But that's just my personal opinion.
Trying to save too much money.
Well, potato.
Yeah, it is what it is. So there we go. It's got nice artwork on it, so we can give them that. And I think, as you said, the artwork overall is a nice, impressive package.
Right.
And I think the graphics that we've seen so far look very, very nice and well executed. And I don't think you particularly miss the seeing the original cartoon series, because how relevant is that to most players anyway these days?
Right. So one comment I would like to make, although it might not be appreciated by everybody, code-wise, I was sort of blown away, but not in a good way, in the sense that there is a lot to do in this game. And with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being such a kiddie type of theme, I think the game is way too complex for what it sort of looks like and appeals to. I mean, it's a very deep game. There's all sorts of things that you can do, and I'm just obviously I haven't played it yet, but I'm just wondering, will it still be fun enough for a 12-year-old kid to walk up to it and understand what he's supposed to be doing? Especially if this might be his first time playing pinball.
Is that who it's aimed at, I suppose, is the question.
I don't know.
Would a 12-year-old kid even know what all those episodes are? Or is this really sort of aimed at the
There have been more movies about... I
older?
think there have been recent movies about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anyway, so 12-year-old kids might be familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but not with pinball. And then getting such a complex game, while it looks so kid-friendly, so I suppose, that might... I'm not sure whether that would benefit pinball in general, but that's just my observations so far, based on watching the Jack Danger stream in which the game was revealed. So...
Yeah, and that's very good. I only saw the first one. I understand there was a second one a couple of days ago.
Friday. Yes, I haven't seen that either.
That was the Pro model. They were showing the Premium in the first one, which looks good. You have to appreciate these are promotional events. They're not just simply explainers or deep dives into the game. They do that, but they are designed to sell you the game as well. So
probably, yeah. So.
Well, you won't hear any criticism of the game, put it that way. You won't say, oh, that's not very good. What about, wouldn't it be better if, or anything like that?
Yeah.
No. Everything is going to be wonderful.
Wonderful.
But, yeah. But anyway, it does look a nice game, and congratulations to everybody at the Stern team.
Yeah, that they finally got the game out.
Yeah. I mean, it's been. I know John finished working on that game, about half a year ago, if not more.
Yeah, something. I was going to say 6 months ago, something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
I did send out an email to John Borg asking whether he was interested in joining us on our podcast. He didn't get back to me, so I guess that's a no. Yeah,
John doesn't do a lot of these things, but so it was a bit speculative, but definitely worth asking.
Right. So there was other Stern news as well, in the form of hiring Raymond Davidson as a game development software engineer. And as I understand it, Raymond Davidson is a very talented tournament player.
He is indeed, from the Pacific Northwest, Seattle area. Number one ranked player in the world at the moment.
I suppose that indicates you're good at it, yes.
Yeah, either that or incredibly lucky, but I reckon he's good. Having played against him a good few times, I know just how good he is. And even played against him in the Seattle League as well once. And that was good fun. And he's a extremely talented player. He's also a very nice guy.
Right.
So double bonus there. Not only does he know his stuff, but he can also. It will be a valuable asset to the Stern team.
Well, it was interesting. I was having a discussion with someone about that Raymond Davidson being hired, and that person, who I will not name, was wondering, well, the press release that was sent out basically brags about him being such a good pinball player, but it doesn't say much about how good he is at writing software. So what's the biggest criterion? That person was wondering about. And but I suppose that they do their homework at Stern, and that they would not just hire somebody because he's a good pinball player. I suppose they look at his qualities at what he's supposed to be doing as well.
Yeah, so I just on that point, I was just wondering how many of, obviously with having Zach Sharp working there and Keith Elwin working there, that's top 3 players out of how many, I wonder, in the current rankings. Probably the top half, the top 3 out of the top 6 players or top 5 players in the world are all working at Stern now in various capacities.
Right.
For game design, marketing and software design.
Right. Well, I'd say that Elwin has proved to be a very valuable asset for Stern.
Yeah, well, I think you'd have to say that Zach has been as well.
I haven't seen any game designs from Zach yet, but
no,
that's easier to say with Elwin, you know. Zach is obviously in marketing, and I appreciate Zach for what he's doing. But I also get the feeling that he would like to do much more, but his hands are tied by management, which doesn't reflect probably what he could do with it if he was given more free rein. But that's a whole different discussion. Let's not go there.
It is. No, okay. I'm glad he didn't. So, also at Stern, they got this Stern Showdown thing,
right. Which was sort of like kill your time while you're in lockdown type of.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, basically it pitched pairs of games against each other, and you had to vote on which one was your favourite. And they kind of make their way through the ladder until we get to what is supposedly the best game from Stern Pinball. So it's continuing. They're down to the final 8 at the moment, I think, and voting is going on through the Stern Pinball Facebook page and probably Instagram as well. But I'm not a member of that, so I don't know. But certainly on Facebook, you can leave a comment under the Stern Pinball page and the Stern Showdown section to vote on each battle, as they call it, to which one of those 2 games goes through to the next round.
Yeah, I thought initially, obviously, they dragged this out for 2 months, which is I suppose it's nice, and a lot of people are following it and participating. But obviously, I wonder at the same time if the games would have been shaken up in a different order at the beginning, and paired against other games, then would the outcome still be the same? In the sense that
presumably the eventual outcome would be the same.
Well, eventually there is supposed to be one winner, and the question is, will that still be the same winner in the end, or doesn't it matter? I mean, if you're pairing, I'd say, just from the top of my head, let's say Lord of the Rings versus AC/DC, that could be an easy win for, I don't know, let's say AC/DC. But if you would be comparing Lord of the Rings versus NBA, then I suppose that Lord of the Rings would have won, and so you get a different.
Sure, but eventually, you know, if they were both the most popular games, they would probably have met in the final, and at which point AC/DC would have won that challenge anyway. Right. Assuming the same number of people are voting and the same group. Obviously, it's going to vary. But, yeah, it's kind of like a tournament thing, isn't it? Eventually, the best player should win, no matter what route they take to get to the final.
Right.
They should get through anyway. So that's the Stern Showdown anyway. It's going on. If you're into that, go and vote for your favourite of the pairings on the Stern Pinball pages. And as far as new code goes, well, with the launch of a new game, all the attention's been on that. But there has been one code update, and that is to the Stranger Things game, which was previously Stern's current title. Now it's now up to version 0.92. On that point, I was just interested, and I was thinking, and maybe it's something I'll do next month, of going through all the recent versions of software from various manufacturers and see which ones have actually reached version 1, to see whether which ones are officially still in development and which ones are supposedly feature complete now. So I suspect there's probably quite a lot which aren't finished at this point, even with all the time spent working at home on updates. I think the pressure to get new games out is always going to take precedent over updating older games to a certain degree. But anyway, version 0.92, Stranger Things. Yeah, they changed the upside down mode, so the hurry-ups are collected in a different way now. There have been lots of rule tweaks, actually, in this version. It's quite a comprehensive one. Scoring adjustments have been made to various features as well. A few bugs fixed. And it's nice to see they've improved some of the lighting effects within the game as well. It's a game which is pretty heavy on lighting effects, particularly the upside-down mode and the UV stuff. But, when the start of some of the modes now have some nicer effects going on with the way the lights work. So that's version 0.92 of Stranger Things. If you've got that, download it and enjoy all the new stuff.
Right. I'm still wondering how much these code updates will actually result in additional sales, because a lot of people might have the chance at some point to play a game. Let's say Stranger Things in this case. I remember when I played it in January, the scoring was very unbalanced, and hitting the Demogorgon, or whatever it's called, the bash toy in the game.
The center shot,
Yeah, the center shot hardly didn't award any points. It wasn't even worth going for. And people quickly figured it out. And I think the perception of the game, because of the software at that time, with a lot of people, at least the people who played it, was like that they were not that fond of the game and they didn't like it that much. Now the question is, how many people are giving such a game a new chance when such a code update comes out?
Yeah, well,
because now the game might be more fun, but if you're not giving it a second chance, then you never know.
Well, no. Personally, that was the last time I saw the game. So the next time I'll see it, it's going to be significantly more advanced with the software than it was then.
Right.
And hopefully it'll be a completely different game with a very different experience. But I don't know it well enough to know what the changes they've made are and whether it makes it a more fun game, or whether there are other factors. Hopefully it will. But go back to your original point, how much does it change things? It changes the perception of people. If they see that the company is supporting the game, and when it's released, that's not the end of the development of the game. And also they are fixing bugs in it as well, and some of them might be critical for operators.
Right.
They might be things which absolutely have to be fixed. So to get all these other fixes in is eye candy, but some of them are must-haves.
Right. Well, I guess the risk in this strategy is that at first the game might not be perceived as fun. Code might be updated, but as many games just go to home collectors and are not out there in the open on location and so on, especially, and even if they were, you wouldn't be able to have been able to play them for the past 2 months anyway. Chances are, by the time people realize that the game code improved and the game is a lot more fun, game is off the line, and there's only so many out there, and good luck finding one. But that's,
but they can always rerun them, if people, if the demand is there.
Right. So, oh well. Moving on to let's say Stern's neighbor, Jersey Jack Pinball.
Yes, interesting. You should say that because on a Facebook post this week, they showed an exterior picture of the new factory, which is at 1850. That's all it said on the
1850 Greenleaf Avenue in Elk Grove Village. Yes,
which we now know is 1850 Greenleaf. There's a lot of people on there saying, "Well, what's the full address?" And nobody was commenting on that to tell them where it really was. But yeah, as you say, 1850 Greenleaf Avenue, Elk Grove Village, which is in an interesting position, I'd say, wouldn't you?
Well, it's I'm not completely aware with the correct terminology, but it's basically 2 blocks over from Stern Pinball. If literally it's across the street, if there wasn't a block of buildings in between, and
it's basically on the adjacent road,
right? And interestingly, I was talking to Gary Flower about it. I said it's a 3-minute drive from Stern to because you have to drive around the block to get to the other side. And Gary mentioned that it's probably possible to just cross the parking lot on foot across the street, and it could be a 3-minute walk. So
it's literally that close, isn't it?
Yeah, so lots of pinball talent within 2 blocks in Elk Grove Village.
Yeah, so if you imagine, they're 1850 Greenleaf Avenue and Stern are at 2001 Lunt Avenue. They are adjacent roads, and 1850 to 2001, well, it's a block and a half over, really. So, yeah, really incredibly close. And I guess that means that when they go out, they go to the coffee shop, they go to the restaurant. So we get the people from Stern and the people from Jersey Jack will all be going to the same places.
Probably, yeah. Although it was already the case, of course. Don't forget that the design team was already located in Bensonville, 5 minutes from the Stern factory. So, but now all the personnel working on the floor assembling games and so on, they will be able to meet each other as well, if they are at least able to go out for lunch, or we might as well see a wall of microwaves at Jersey Jack as well.
Well, socially distanced, of course. They have to be 6 feet apart.
Also the microwaves, okay.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Definitely.
So, but no, that's interesting, and I have some interesting details about the new Jersey Jack factory, if you're interested.
Of course.
Okay. This was handed to me by a source that doesn't want to be mentioned, so I won't reveal his name. But property features include 60,239 square feet building. It's a 2 point. That is pretty big. It's a 2.83 acre site. On there is 10,460 square feet of office space. It has a wet sprinkler system. It says something about the power, I don't care. 11 exterior docks, 2 drive-in docks, 37 parking spots, and 6+ trailer parking spots.
Oh, sounds like they're gearing up to have a lot of trucks coming in and out of that place.
Right. I'm not sure whether they are delivering pizzas or...
no, they'll go to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle team.
Right. So, but no, it's in. It looks like an incredibly large hall. The warehouse area, so to speak, is I'd say enough to put probably in 3 pinball lines if they want to.
Yes, I'm trying to remember.
Put in a lot of stock games.
What the size of the old factory was. I think it was about 40,000 square feet, and this is 60. And they had room for 2 lines in that one. So, yeah, as you say, potential for 3 lines here, a bit like American Pinball were planning.
Right, or store a lot of inventory if they want to, have to, you know.
Potentially make games for other people.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the office space is in the front, and then the warehouse area is sort of in the back.
That's very much like the Stern.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, probably it is. I would figure you could also do the office space on top of the warehouse, okay? So everybody's on the first floor and the warehouse have an even bigger warehouse. But that's just me. And I don't know all these American rules for buildings and what have you. But that was my European view on it. So just
it was interesting that they showed a picture of the sign outside, and it said Jersey Jack Pinball with their typeface and logo, but it didn't have the New Jersey outline around it like it traditionally has. So I was wondering with the move to Illinois whether they're kind of dropping that part of the logo now.
I think I saw a comment. I think I saw a comment from Jersey Jack that said that it was just a temporary signage for now, and
it looked pretty permanent to me. In fact, it was all originally. I thought it was Photoshop because it had kind of like embossed characters on the text, and I thought that looks too clean and real. Too clean and neat to be real, but then they commented that it is an actual photograph and not photoshopped. So it doesn't look like a temporary sign, but maybe. But it was interesting that they didn't include the Jersey outline on it, or New Jersey outline, I should say.
Yeah, maybe they should do the Illinois outline this time, or both.
That would get confusing.
And
okay.
Oh well.
So that's the New Jersey Jack Pinball Factory at 1850 Greenleaf Avenue in Elk Grove Village.
Right.
Just around the corner from Stern Pinball.
Yes. So anyone getting fired at Stern Pinball, well, it's just a short walk and you might find a new employee right away.
Absolutely, and vice versa.
You beat me to it. So, but there was more news from Jersey Jack Pinball. Interestingly enough, they posted a video in which they basically said that more innovation is coming, I would say. They said something about innovating the games and innovating pinball. They showed the games that they did so far, ending with a question mark, and it concluded saying everything is about to change.
Yes, and I think also there was a comment on Facebook about that, and somebody said about internet connectivity, and the response was, if you think it's just internet connectivity, then that's not even a tiny bit of what we're doing. Right. So, they seem to think they're going to be doing something, changing the game, shall we say?
Well, it's interesting, and I have to mention Canada's podcast here, who did a show on the upcoming Guns N' Roses game, and apparently Canada has had a sort of sneak preview, and apparently the game, of which everybody is assuming that it's going to be Guns N' Roses, although it has not been officially confirmed, but apparently the gameplay is going to be quite different than what we've seen lately. With easier objectives and so I'm very curious to see whenever Jack or Jersey Jack is able to reveal the game, what it will be like. But I'm very very curious, very interested in seeing what they might have discovered or come up with in terms of making the game more fun for novice players, I would say.
Well, it sounds like that speaks to what you were saying earlier about how potentially Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could be a confusing game for a novice player, and wouldn't immediately get what the objectives are. So maybe that's something which Jersey Jack Pinball have taken on board with their software design for Guns N' Roses or whatever their next game is.
Right. Well, they could have learned. What I understood is they listened to the feedback that they got on previous games, especially Pirates of the Caribbean being far too complex for people to understand with 22 characters to choose from, and all that. So they might be heading into a different direction, which I think might be good for pinball. It doesn't have to be extremely simple, but it should be at least be fun and enjoyable for everybody who just walks up to the game and plunges a couple of balls.
Yeah, hopefully there's a bit more to it than that in the everything is about to change comment, and innovative, because we've had simpler games in the past. So that wouldn't be innovation, but there must be something a lot more coming up, which is truly innovative and will change the way that the game plays.
Right. So, we'll just have to wait and see, because as of now, we have no indication when the next Jersey Jack game will be announced. And as Jack used to say, he would like to reveal a game when he has games ready to ship. With them just moving to Illinois, I suspect they are not ready to build and ship games yet. So I'm not holding my breath, but then again, I'm open for surprises.
Yeah, and on that point, it's interesting that having just moved and setting up their new factory in their new building, they have the potential, I suppose, even at this stage, late stage, to incorporate some of the sort of social distancing requirements that companies will need for the manufacturing of games. They'll be able to set up workstations which are further apart, or put up screens long before they actually start. They're actually up to full production, whereas other companies already have existing manufacturing, and they need to modify that to make it compliant and make it safe for the employees. So it's a benefit for them that they're not sort of trying to churn out games at the same time they're trying to work out how they can do it safely. They can do that as two separate steps.
Right.
So what else has gone on at Jersey Jack? Well, they also announced that they are launching a weekly 30-minute podcast.
Right.
Ken Cromwell is hosting this, and the thing launches in June. I understand it will have sort of exclusive insider access, community participation, be fully family friendly, unlike ours.
Sorry about that.
Won't require any fees or registration, and you can send questions for the team there to answer, and they can be sent to podcast@jerseyjackpinball.com, and you never know, they might pick your question and give you an answer on their podcast. So that's launching later this month.
Right.
About 30 minutes, and it's weekly. So it'll be a date for your diary to put in as a recurring event to listen to the latest Jersey Jack Pinball podcast.
Right, okay. It will be interesting to see what they fill it with, especially if the company is not handing out or bringing any news recently. I mean, there's already enough podcasts talking about gameplay and so on, so I'm curious to see what type of news they are going to be bringing, especially if it's on a weekly basis. I
guess there'll be quite a lot of Q&A going on, and development of the new factory as well, and how that's getting on. What they can do is sort of talk to various people in the team about what they've been doing, what they've been working on, and look back at their previous 5 games as well.
Right.
And talking of the previous 5 games, I saw a post that Jersey Jack Pinball made that revealed that all 5 of the existing Jersey Jack Pinball games have attract mode music created by Alter Bridge's Mark Tremonti. Now, I didn't know that, as that's news to me. And of course, a lot of people tend to turn off attract mode music because it's unpredictable as to when it's going to suddenly start, and when you finish playing the game, do you really want to leave it on and wait 2 minutes for some music to suddenly start up. But if you do, then you'll be able to hear Mark Tremonti's musical compositions, which are in all the 5 Jersey Jack pinball games, and no indication whether it's going to be in the next one. If it's Guns N' Roses, it might be a bit out of place. But
no, actually, I think it's for Guns N' Roses probably into place. I'm familiar with what it is. There is this video where you have basically a pinball going clockwise and drawing the outline of the state of Jersey the music under there. There's a guitar riff, a bit 80s rock, I would say. I think that it's this post is referring to that. So,
really?
So I don't think it would be out of place with Guns N' Roses at all. I probably figured it is more out of place with Willy Wonka and the Wizard of Oz, so to speak, because that music isn't. It's not like a heavy metal soundtrack, and all of a sudden there is this logo coming on, and
right.
that heavy guitar riff. So, but
it's just the logo music. Then that's a little less exciting, I have to say. I took it to mean when I read it initially that they all had different music tracks in a track mode. Right. But what you say actually makes a lot more sense.
Right. So, maybe that's something to figure out who is right on this one. So we might get back to that in a future podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So let's carry on and let's move south to the state of Texas and see what the team at Multimorphic have been up to, because they launched their new internet-connected gameplay for the Cosmic Kart Racing game this month. It's something which they've been trailing for quite a while, but and they demonstrated local network gaming at the Texas show
2 years ago.
A year before. So it's something which has been known, and when I went to the factory there, we were able to play. Well, you and I went to the factory, and we were both able to play the linked games that were within the factory. But now they've spread that beyond a local network into a wide area network and called the internet. So anyone with a Cosmic Kart Racing game on their P3 can link it up and start a network game with other people anywhere in the world.
Right,
which seems an exciting option, particularly in these times where we're not able to go out to location and play pinball. Right. And you want to play against someone else, someone who isn't a member of your immediate family, you can now do it.
Right. So now, I noticed on your website you wrote a very in-depth article on this new feature.
Thank you.
I haven't read it all because for me it was rather technical. But are you able to basically see if you're on the game? Can you see whether other players are online?
You can start there are two choices. You can either choose to host a game, in which case your machine is the master game, or you can join in with other players who are sort of hosting games of their own and waiting for players to join. Right. So it can work both ways. You can say, okay, my machine's ready to go. Anybody wants to come and play, join me, and then people can join. Or you can just go sort of and just say, well, who's out there, and try, and you can try and join their game.
Right. Okay. Well, this is
that's available now for Cosmic Kart Racing, and it's also coming very soon for the Heads Up game as well. So it's a thing that I think they're going to be rolling out onto future releases as an added bonus.
Who knows whether it will be incorporated in updated versions of Heist, for example, or Or Lexi Lightspeed. It might trigger developers to exploit such feature and see what else they can do with it. So.
Yeah, it's certainly part of the framework, the underlying framework that's available now as a feature that people can build into their games. And to demonstrate it, Multimorphic had what they call a WAN party, a wide area network party, for those people who had the software, who had installed it on their Cosmic Kart racing game. That was on Saturday, 23rd of May. So there was a little window there where basically everybody who had it could party and start playing against each other over the internet, just to check it out, because that's a new feature. And I did actually ask about whether they're going to retrofit that to previous games, but Jerry said it's not a priority for them. The priority is to increase, add new games and to make those games more fun by using this feature, rather than try and sort of fit it into games which were never designed for that kind of play. So not ruling it out, but it's probably down to the developers for some of those as well, because they're not all developed in-house either. So it could definitely be something which could add an extra level of fun, but it's something which I think Jerry's had a certain wry smile as people have been speculating on what Jersey Jack Pinball's video about innovation might be, and saying, it might be internet play, and he's been, or it might be this, or it might be that, and Jerry's just been going, we've had all this for years. This isn't new, isn't innovative. So the P3 was in many ways ahead of its time, but now it's some of those features are coming more into the mainstream with internet connected play.
Well, hopefully, with the Corona rules being less tight, hopefully that will also mean that Multimorphic can start shipping more heist games, because that release sort of got buried in all the Corona news, which is a pity, because it was a very cool game to play, and I think they deserve to sell a lot more units of it.
Yeah, I think once they can get it out to shows as well, so people can play it for themselves and see it, I think that will also help, and the CCR as well. I think once that's been demonstrated and shows are back up and running, then it'll be a good promotional event for them as well, to show what these are capable of. Right.
Okay. Now, speaking of internet connectivity, we didn't announce it yet, but I think this is a good bridge to announce that. As you might be aware, over the past couple of episodes, Gary Flower has been trying to connect with us by calling either me or Martin on our cell phones. And, with the coronavirus and Zoom gaining a lot of popularity for making conference video calls and so on, we figured this time we turn it around. So at the end of the show, we're going to be calling Gary Flower via Zoom. So finally we'll have Gary Flower on the show. I figured that was a nice bridge from the internet connectivity from Multimorphic. So
very good. Yep. Okay.
So that's later on. Moving on to, I suppose, Spooky Pinball.
Yeah. They are not in Illinois, of course.
No, they are in Wisconsin. They are, in fact, as I noticed on their website, it says they are the, now I have to say it correctly, they are the best pinball company in Benton, Wisconsin.
Wow, that's some boast. I hope they can live
up to that.
Appreciate that claim. Yeah. Well, they're probably true, but they are back in production again. Anyway, in their new factory.
Right, making a Rick and Morty.
Yes, making Rick and Morty games, and I've actually been watching Rick and Morty during this lockdown period, or relative lockdown that we've had.
Gameplay or the TV show?
No, the actual cartoon series.
Right.
Yes, so I can understand the game more when I actually get my flipper fingers on the buttons.
Right.
So it makes sense now, hopefully. So and so that Rick and Morty, that is back in production, having started before the lockdown, and continuing. There's suggestions they might have some shortages of certain parts, particularly the cabinets for the butter finish on them, but I haven't had that confirmed yet, so that's only a rumour at the moment. But good news for Spooky Pinball is that they have finally sold all the Alice Cooper Nightmare Castle games that they were producing. Yes, it was a limited run, and they've had the last few available for a while now, but nope, that's finally.
So you see, there is a positive twist to this whole coronavirus situation. People are so desperate they bought Alice Cooper Nightmare Castle. That's not nice to say. It's a very nice game. But
it is. I think people. I think it's what would probably be termed a slow burner, in that people have got to play the game realise it's actually quite good.
Yeah, and it's a grower.
So it is. Yeah. Yeah, but it's kind of feeds on itself. If there aren't many out there, not many people get to play it, so not many people realise that it's a good game and doesn't generate more sales. But it has done now. And so if you wanted one, too late. Well, at least on getting a brand new one,
right?
Unless any distributors have any in stock. But I suspect they're all taken now. So anyway, good news for Spooky. So they can now concentrate on marketing Rick and Morty and then their future titles, because everything else is sold out.
Right. So, and then from one pinball company on the move to another one, American Pinball, who finally, and this has been a long time in the making, I suppose. Moved to their new factory in Palatine, which is in Illinois as well. And they started the manufacturing of Hot Wheels.
Yes, Hot Wheels, which we talked about that last time, I think, did we? If not the time before.
Right.
It's been announced a while, but manufacturing hasn't been possible due to the lockdown. But now in their new factory, which they are sharing with their parent or sister company,
right?
They can start building there. Although their website still shows their previous address, but their new address is actually
the flyer
in Palatine, as you said.
Address, yes.
Right. Okay. Very good. Okay. Well, their actual address is 500 South Hicks Road in Palatine. So while we were giving out the addresses of Jersey Jack and Stern Pinball, so American Pinball are South Hicks Road in Palatine. So as you said, they'd actually, when we've been there, they were saying they thought they'd be in and up and running by the start of last year. You
know how it goes. Pinball is easy, moving a factory is hard. Or was it the other way around?
Either way, I think it's taken just over a year longer than was originally planned or originally envisaged. I didn't think they could possibly got in the beginning of last year. That seemed very adventurous to suggest that. But
the coronavirus probably didn't help either.
No, probably not. I think they were saying that for a long time they were waiting on permits from the city or from the city council in order to be able to operate and to bring guests in, all that kind of thing, and to get staff into the building. But obviously now that's all happened, and so congratulations to them on their new premises.
Right. So let's hope that they will start cranking out those Hot Wheels games soon, and that there will be shows where they can actually show them, because we haven't seen gameplay yet. And,
no, that's right. No, we haven't.
I'm very much looking forward to that. So.
No, apart from a couple of very short promotional videos, which were released at the time the game was announced. Yeah, there's nothing much out there. So, but on the plus side, it's given them plenty of time to work on code and animations and lighting effects and all the good stuff that goes into the game. Right. So when we do get to see it, it should be pretty impressive.
Right. Now, speaking of nothing, how about Deep Root Pinball?
Can we just mention that American Pinball have also been hiring as well.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was too quick.
We should mention that. Remember that that Barry from American Pinball went over to work with Jersey Jack Pinball after. Well, I wouldn't say it's after. Butch Peel left, but around about the same time as Butch. So which left a kind of technical service manager role vacancy at American Pinball. Well, they've hired Dave Brennan to take that position. He's I'm not sure exactly whether he's got any experience of dealing with customers in the same way, but he's certainly a very knowledgeable game restorer and repairer and maintenance guy. He goes by the name of TurboGrafx7 on Facebook and on his Twitch channel as well. That's TurboGrafx, GRAFX7. And he's been showing the restoration work he's been doing on a Gottlieb Alien Star on his Facebook page for a little while now, and so you can keep track of that there and follow his repair work there, and see Dave before. Well, actually, he's already taken up his role, I think, as technical services manager at American Pinball. But so you can see him and who he is and the work he does on his Facebook and Twitch pages or streams. So Congratulations to Dave and American Pinball on their new hiring.
Right, and speaking of new hires, then I'm going to bridge to another company, not yet to Deeproot, we'll get there. Because you mentioned recently Butch Peel being let go at Jersey Jack Pinball. Good news, it has just been confirmed after the news was already announced last night by Canada. Congrats on that scoop for him. Butch Peel has been hired by Chicago Gaming.
Yes, it's now confirmed news from Chicago Gaming themselves. They put out a press release, or are about to, if they haven't already.
Right, well, I already received a press release, and I can read it out loud for you if you're interested. Hold on.
Let's give us the first paragraph.
First paragraph. Chicago Gaming Company is very excited to welcome Butch Peel to our team. Butch will be serving as our lead service engineer.
Oh, okay. Very, very good. Well, congratulations to Butch and also to Chicago Gaming on a very wise hiring. We did say at the time we didn't think it would be long before one company snapped him up, and Chicago Gaming have done so. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, happy for Butch, happy for Chicago Gaming. And, and I think in this position, it also is actually very good news for the people who bought games from Chicago Gaming, because having Butch on board probably means that you get an in-depth manual if there isn't one yet. Although, obviously, with Chicago Gaming, Williams manuals already exist for those games, but I'm quite sure that Butch can give his own twist to it, and that you'll end up with a much more interesting or colorful, if you want, manual, if he does anything similar to the ones that he did at Jersey Jack Pinball.
Yeah, it's just something that just popped into my mind as we were talking about that. I guess that means that Butch will be back working with Lloyd Olson on home repair, on home service. Now, as they're working together at Jersey Jack Pinball, and Lloyd does technical advice and helpline work for Jersey Jack Pinball, but he also does it for Chicago Gaming or Planetary Pinball. So, yeah, they're back together again as a team. So, even better news.
Right. So, yeah, excellent. And speaking of Chicago Gaming, we assume that they are back at work as well, since they are based in Illinois.
Yes, if they're not, I understand they've certainly been shipping games recently, but they do tend to have a large store of games which are awaiting shipping. Having toured the factory, you can go into the storeroom and there are an amazing number of boxed games ready to go. So I don't think there has been any shortage of Chicago Gaming machines available if you wanted to buy them from your local distributor.
Right. Okay, so now getting back to Deeproot, where I was trying to bridge into earlier. Is there any news from Deeproot Pinball that we know of?
Well, no, actually, nothing's changed as far as I can see. Nothing has changed on their website, which is pretty much the same as it was in March. It's still showing details about the launch event they were going to hold and the fact that it's been cancelled, but still asking people to submit their details for accreditation. No indication at all about what's going on at the company. No rescheduled launch event or reveal details or anything about what it is they're actually doing.
Right.
Have you heard anything?
Well, I heard anything, but I don't think it's worth mentioning online because it's not confirmed to me. It's just a rumor via through someone else who heard it from someone else. So I tend to go with okay, let's wait and see what happens before I start spreading any rumors and giving people hopes that might not be justified. So
no, okay, well. So no, nothing from them. So let's go back to a company where things are happening, and in fact they are building games and selling games and shipping them.
Wow.
Some of them to people who have already bought them. Pre-orders. And this is your area of speciality, as it's your good friend and fellow native Barry over at Dutch Pinball,
right? Who
is cranking out the game team.
Right. Well, it's interesting to note that Dutch Pinball did send out a newsletter to their customers, people, their early achievers who are still waiting for a game, the Big Lebowski game, to be delivered to them. And it was quite a lengthy update with lots of photos from the new factory. Basically, Barry indicated that they were able to continue to work on the manufacturing of games during the lockdown period, as there was enough distance in between the several people working there, and there are only 4 people there, so it's not that difficult to keep your distance if necessary. He announced that a 5th full-time member was starting last week, I think.
Another hire.
Yes, and well, it might be not that special, but it was his daughter Tara who is joining Dutch Pinball in a full-time capacity, although it didn't say in what function she will be active. But I'm sure that she has her qualities and that she will be a valuable asset for Dutch Pinball. No argument there. And what's interesting about the newsletter is that for the first time Barry indicated the ratio. Well, first of all, he indicated that the first early achiever games have been shipped. And I explained briefly what that indicates, because recently when Dutch Pinball was able to buy their assets from their former contract manufacturer, obviously they needed money to buy these assets, and in order to do so, what they did was they sold Big Lebowski games that were already manufactured and had been stocked at their former contract manufacturer for a couple of years. That means that the people who were still waiting for those games, and the games that weren't even built yet, would have to wait longer. And when the new factory was set up, Barry continued to sell games, build games, and ship them out immediately. So quite a few people who recently ordered a Big Lebowski game were actually able to get one, while others who ordered one like 4 or 5 years ago still waiting for one. Those are the early achiever games, and obviously the intent has always been to deliver those early achiever games as well, but the company first needed to recreate a financial stability, and they reached that, and they started building and shipping early achiever games, and currently they are doing so in a 1 out of 4 ratio. So 1 out of 4 games being built goes to an early achiever who is still waiting for his game. That's not a very high ratio, I would say. I was hoping it would be either 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2, if possible. But I understand that that number, the frequency might still increase.
Yes.
At least we know something, because prior to this we didn't know anything. So that's a good thing if you're waiting for a game like I am, being an early achiever. So I guess that's quite some interesting news. And well,
that's certainly what Barry was promising from the start, wasn't it? That was how it was going to happen, and a lot of people, including myself to a degree, were sceptical that he would ever get to the situation where he'd have sold enough games to be able to start fulfilling the early achiever orders.
Right.
But all credit to him and the team there at Dutch Pinball. They've done it, and
they're not
made
there
a start.
yet, but at least they made a start. Yes.
On fulfilling those early achiever orders. So gradually, it looks like their plan is one that's working, even with all the shenanigans around the coronavirus. So yeah, good news, I see.
Right. Yeah, and I texted with Barry earlier this afternoon, and there is a plan to do a live stream from the Dutch Pinball factory. Actually, that plan has already been there for a couple of months, but coronavirus, you know how it goes. I asked Barry whether he already picked a new date for such a live stream, and he hasn't. But since the rules for coronavirus and distancing are less strict right now, I figured they might have thought about a date. He hasn't yet, but I think I put it back on his radar, so who knows, he might be able to announce something hopefully soon. Good.
Well, on other The Big Lebowski news, I saw on the Dutch Pinball Facebook page, they said that they had done a film project shoot in a local cafe. The name of the cafe is not one I'm going to attempt to pronounce because it's in Dutch. But Jonathan will do it for us. It's called
Café de Hete Brei.
Yeah, it's a Hete Brei. So spelt Het Bridge, but the Café de Hete Brei refers to some rather dubious sounding food, some hot gruel or something like that.
Yeah, I think prison food, something like that, and still being warm. That sort of covers it, I suppose. Yeah.
So anyway, they had a Big Lebowski machine set up there, and it was used as part of this music film project. And when that project's finished and ready to show, I'm sure that Dutch Pinball will post the link to it on their Facebook page and elsewhere, and probably on their website too.
Right.
So a little more publicity for Pinball and the Big Lebowski in particular.
Right. So, okay. Moving on to the other side of the world, I suppose. Is there any news from Haggis Pinball?
Absolutely none, or at least none that they've made public. They have not produced any new videos at all in the past month. Or at least they haven't put them on their Facebook page or on their YouTube channel either, which is unusual. But I'm sure there are reasons why that is, and we've had this in the past, haven't we? There's been a sort of silence for some period of time, and then they're back and just say, "Oh, we've been busy, but we're back at it now full time." And
right.
I'm sure that will happen again this time as well.
Hopefully,
and nothing to be unduly worried about. But with no pinball shows or deadlines to meet until, well, currently October. there's time to be working on the new games, but there's no new news from Haggis that we know
then
about.
Let's bring in all the news from Circus Maximus.
Oh, well, it's all been go at Circus Maximus, where there's no news either. So, no, they don't update their social media stuff very frequently anyway, and they haven't done it at all in the past month. So, I think there.
Good. Then, we're crossing the globe. Homepin in Taiwan these days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not much from Homepin, from Mike Kalinowski over there. We did show a couple of pictures from these new Taiwan factory, showing that they're still unpacking and setting everything up after their move from China. But says it's a long process, and they hope to be completely set up in their new home sometime this month, so they can start production. In the meantime, they seem to be focusing their construction efforts on making replacement circuit boards for various pinballs. In particular, the strobe board for Attack from Mars' Saucer, which they've redesigned and have a new version available. So manufacturing is still going on. Homepin's just not pinball manufacturing or not pinball machine manufacturing at the moment. But hopefully later this month, and we'll be back next month to give you details of that.
I definitely hope that they will be back into production soon, because I've seen some video of that China Zombies game, which I thought was rather interesting. So I really hope they can pick that up and put that actually into production. So.
Good. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing that. Hopefully they'll be able to bring out a version aimed at the Western market as well, so we can get to play it.
Maybe you should change the title to Corona Zombies.
Yes, that's what everybody will be itching to get their hands on that.
So, right, okay. Do you have any other news before we get to Gary?
Yeah, only as far as the what's been going on with the IFPA. And you remember that all tournament events were no longer to be sanctioned from the IFPA, so no WOPA points awarded at the start of this lockdown in March. So no declared plans to change that situation at the moment. It's obviously a tricky one when various parts of the world are coming out of the lockdowns and restrictions in different stages. Even in the States, different states are doing different things. So it would be difficult to suddenly start sanctioning events globally when many countries and many areas are not actually able to hold tournaments due to local restrictions.
Right.
So that's not happening at the moment. But what they are doing is they've teamed up with Match Play Events to launch the IFPA Challenge Ratings, or ICR, which launches today, the 1st of June. And it's basically remote play, or almost an internet play of a different type, not as direct as the multimorphic version, but you can do it over Zoom, you can do it over Skype, you can do it over various other methods, in that you and somebody else with the same game can set up a head-to-head best-of-3 game where you both play your own games. And you record the results on the Match Play Events website, and there is actually some money behind all this as well. The IFPA are donating up to $1,000 for the kind of best of for the top 8 players at the end of all this, whenever it draws to an end, and trophies for the top 4 as well. So. Might be something worth looking into. Go and have a look at the IFPA website, ifpapinball.com, and you can sign up on the matchplay.events website. You both need to have an account with Matchplay in order to do this, and you can challenge people from all over the world to play various games. And who knows? Might come out with some money at the end of it. So best of luck with that.
Right. Okay. While we're on other news, I did see an update on Pinball Expo. What do you make of that?
Ah, yes. Well, it's kind of like a holding message, really, to say we haven't made a decision. We're keeping an eye on things. We're still working away hard behind the scenes to make sure the show goes ahead in October. But ultimately, it's not their call. It's beyond their remit to determine whether or not it's a safe environment for people to gather, and whether they're actually legally allowed to do so anyway by the city of Wheeling and or by the governor of Illinois.
Right.
So they're working on the basis that it is going to happen. They're advising that if it doesn't, for any reason, then everybody will get money back, and hotel bookings can be cancelled free of charge. So it's a risk-free thing to book. And if you do want to go, then you certainly should book a hotel room there, because it always sells out, and people, always has sold out. I don't know. This year's, it's a guessing game as to exactly what's going to happen. But it costs you nothing to do it, and you can cancel it for free. Why wouldn't you book? So I'd recommend doing that. And also, if you do want to go, then I'd recommend pre-booking your admission package with Rob Burke or Bridget, and showing them that there is a demand for the show, that you're supporting them. And again, if it doesn't happen, you get your money back, so you've nothing to lose really in that regard. But it's I think something which if you wanted to go, sign up for it now, and the more people that do, the bigger the resolve will be to make sure it does happen.
Right.
But ultimately, as I say, it may well be down to state or local regulations as to whether or not they'll be allowed to do it or not. Hopefully they will. Fingers crossed, because I don't think any of us particularly want, pretty much the entire 2020 show season to be written off. It'd be nice if we could at least get something out of this year.
Yeah. Then we still have to see whether you and I can travel to America, for example. Because that's also still up in the air. No pun intended.
Well, yeah, and also, we're talking about the Dutch Pinball Expo, Pinball Open Expo as well, and whether or not I would be allowed to go to that.
Without getting or being fined with 2 weeks of quarantine when you get back home.
That's right. Yeah, which is what the current situation they're talking about is. Anybody who flies in or out of the UK has to do a 14-day self-quarantine or self-isolation.
Right.
Which obviously turns and you have to have somewhere where you're going to do that. You can't just say, "Oh yes, I'll do it," and then ignore it. You have to. If we were flying to the US, we'd have to have somewhere that we could go to for 14 days before we could even leave that place and start our travels. So it's at the moment it's not feasible, but things change fast, and both for the better and for the worse. So let's again keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can still enjoy some good pinball shows later in the year, and play some of these wonderful games we've been talking about.
Right. So, okay, then, there's one last thing to do, and it's been, over 2 years in the making. We figured out a way that it could work this time. We're going to be calling Gary Flower on Zoom so that we can finally hear what he's been trying to tell us for God knows how long. So, Martin, I'll let you do the honors, because you know your way with Zoom. I've been using it for work, and it's a good system, and I'm sure you all know. And we've got the latest updates to make it ultra secure, so nobody should snoop on our private conversation with Gary, because obviously we don't want anybody else to hear what we're saying. Right. So I'll call him up right now. So it's just on there, and where is it? There it is. Right. Yes. Okay. So it's calling him now, waiting for him to join the meeting. We did tell him that we'd be doing this around about this time, and he's expecting.
Oh, look. There he is. Are you seeing him?
I'm seeing him. Yes. Hello, Gary.
Hey.
I'm waving to Gary.
Yeah, Gary.
Yeah. I see his lips moving, but I don't hear him.
Yes. Unmute your microphone, Gary.
Right, Gary.
Turn the microphone on.
Can you hear us, Gary?
No, there's a button somewhere. Oh,
How do you explain this to an elderly?
I'm sure we have plenty of people who've been in that situation. Turn the microphone on, Gary.
Gary, your mic is muted. Unmute your mic.
Stop talking. Just, can you hear it? Oh, he's talking away, but we can't hear a word he's saying because he hasn't turned his microphone on.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with Gary. Once he starts talking, good luck intervening.
Well, yes, there is that. But I know that's the thing with Zoom. Sometimes when you launch it, it's muted the microphone, but you have to remember to unmute it. Oh. I don't think we're... Gary, no, we can't get a word in. He's on a roll.
It's too bad we can't hear it.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Well, we tried. God knows we tried.
Okay. Well, we'll point out where the unmute microphone button is to Gary, and hopefully we'll hear from him in the next podcast, and he can tell us all the things that he was streaming across the internet to us in video only form. Maybe we should get a lip reader involved, so they can tell us what it is he's saying. But
right.
Probably easy just to get him to unmute his microphone.
I'm not going to wait for that before you. But
No,
we tried.
We did. We're always trying.
Well, yeah, we have our listeners who can attest that we try. So it's not us, Gary. It's not us. Anyway, okay. I guess this wraps it up for the month of May, and I have to say that let me close off with a brief announcement. Usually I try to send out mid-month my monthly newsletter. I used to do that right after our podcast, and then I figured it makes more sense to do it 2 weeks later and capture the news of the first 2 weeks as well. This week or this month I was extremely busy with other stuff. There wasn't that much news, so I figured I'd let it slide a little bit, and then I was faced with a crashing hard drive, which I was able to save most of it. But as it goes with those things, those are immediate priorities, which also caused further delay of such newsletter. So I will be sending it out after this podcast, including a link to this podcast as well. But that explains why the newsletter didn't arrive mid-month this past month, mid-May. So, and I have a new record coming.
Didn't lose anything too important.
No, that's true. And I have a new record coming out on Spotify on June 12th. It's called Japanese Disco Game, and the artist is Remix the Remix. But I won't bother anybody else with that over here. I'll just spam you on Facebook.
I do have to ask you one question, though. Is there any more progress on the next edition of Pinball magazine?
Yes, there is.
Good.
As you may know, the cover story has been transcribed. That's 181 pages, and I got to editing the first 90 pages now of those 181 pages, and the plan is to move forward this week with the rest of that. So that's already edited, and there's still more editing going on with those last 90 pages, so 91 pages that still need to be edited, because that need to be sort of woven into the first 90 pages that already have been edited. So, but yes, I have been working on that. So it's slow progress, but it's still progress.
Good. Okay. Well, that's good news on which to end this month's look back at the previous month.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you once again for your contribution.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I do hope everybody enjoyed it, and it looks like June is going to be another exciting month. We honestly don't know exactly what's going to happen, because May was, as you said, it started off as a very quiet month, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of news came towards the end of it.
Right.
So we look forward to seeing what's going to happen in June 2020.
Right. Well, one interesting question that we can ask ourselves. Several pinball companies may have been in the position to reveal games and haven't yet. So the question is, when will they? And now that the manufacturing is slowly starting again, hopefully that will result in some more new releases.
Yeah, it's probably a very good time to start releasing games, isn't it? To get in there before any of the sort of big shows start up, and people definitely try and tie in new game releases with those. Now would otherwise be a bit of a dead time, so you can get plenty of publicity and excitement around your launch.
Well, that's for sure. I do understand, by the way, why Stern went ahead with Turtles instead of the earlier announced contract heavy metal game. But obviously, I guess their margin is bigger on the Turtles game than on a contract game for somebody else. So, sorry, for me it makes sense that they went ahead with Turtles instead of the delayed heavy metal contract game.
Yeah, as I remember, the heavy metal game was seen as being quite expensive. So the Turtles, I don't know, it gives them a bigger margin, but certainly gets the volume up. I don't think they'd sell anything like the same number of heavy metal games as they would of Turtles.
Right. So, oh well. Anyway, so that's it for this month. Hopefully, we'll be back at the beginning of next month.
Hopefully, definitely. There'll be a lot to look back on.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. So, until then, from me, Martin Ayub, and from my co-host,
Jonathan Joosten, stay healthy, stay safe, play pinball, and until next month.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.